Hi, I'm Dominic. This is Dominic's Woodworks, and today I give you a cool way to batch out a number of small decorative pieces on the table saw. This technique requires you to have, well, a table saw, but also a piece of wood the size of the ornament you want to make, and ideally your table saw can cut all the way through it just to keep your options open. In theory, the piece you use can be as long as you like, but shop walls and, more realistically, ease of handling limit what you should actually use. Also, even a piece this size will yield a good number of ornaments. First, you need to come up with a design, and there are some trial and error involved in this. And just in case it isn't obvious, I recommend using push sticks, push blocks, or any other kind of keep my fingers away from that blade implements. Consider what the table saw can do. Straight cuts at an angle from 90 degrees to 45 degrees. I found it easier to trace out the dimensions of my piece on paper and then create a pattern using as few cuts as possible. If you have never done this before, it is not that easy to imagine what the final shape will look like, especially since the blade has a curve. But using a vector graphics program like Inkscape can make it easier to test out different ideas. On the other hand, paper and pencil are definitely the more hands-on approach. As you can see here, at some point you will start removing pieces. To stay safe, always remove the main workpiece from the saw before you remove the offcut, because if you cannot avoid kickback, pick the lighter piece for it. Which is to say, you should always avoid kickback. Test your design on a smaller piece before you go into production mode. That is to say, on a piece that should still be longer than your saw blade is on the table, just for safety reasons. Another consideration is the stability of the piece when making the cut. Most of the time, most of the original sides of the wood will be removed, leaving less and less material for the piece to rest on. For advanced pieces, you can also use this to your advantage and rest the piece on a face cut in the step before. I made a design change here, and I will talk about the safety considerations in a moment. Ideally, I should have made those sequential cuts before cutting the tip off. As always, sanding is an option and should not be optional for a pretty piece. And calling the tear out decorative icicles will only get you so far. Hello! There you are. That's basically how you make trees from wood. There's some deeper metaphor in there, and camera is still not working like that, but well, they should be front and center. As you can see, if you cut them like this, 1 centimeter thick or 1/3 of an inch, well, between a third and a fourth, you know what I mean. Just like this, finger thick, or slightly smaller, then you can, if you give them a little sanding, you can just stand them up. Go over them with spray paint if you want to, leave them like they are. You can use any other kind of decorating on them. You can also chamfer the edges a little, but keep in mind that the material isn't that thick and it's basically end grain. And here this corner broke off. That of course depends on your design and the wood. And if you decide to go for these smaller ones, and I've seen them on sale for the purpose of grabbing a handful and throwing them on the table. No idea what they're actually called, but I'd call them throwies. Wooden throwies. And yes, I know about the LED versions. If you cut them thin like this, you have to be really careful and go really slow. I did the cutting on my miter saw. You could also do it on the bandsaw. And on my miter saw, I actually tried cutting them, well, like this, or give you a better impression. Let's plant the forest there. I started out with cutting it like this, with the saw coming from here, and then I got these Where did I plant it? This one where the corner broke off. But then I decided to put it like this. And this way, with the saw coming here, I got little to no tear out. That's something you have to just try. Use trial and error with your design. But with this thickness you're pretty much prone to getting things that break. Or you could design yours in a way that allows for a small hole. I personally would probably go through here or somewhere a little more beefy than the top, and use them as name tags for presents. I hope I've gone through all what I'd call design rules for this to make it as safe as possible. Keep in mind it's a finger eater, I mean a table saw, and in the end when I did these cuts to hog out this slot here, I wasn't at my most relaxed, because basically you have this piece only resting on this small portion here that you can't actually see, on this small portion here, and while you can press it against the fence with the whole area here, it's easy to just tilt on you. And actually I had thought about cutting it this way so that there's only the trunk and no ground. Had I planned it like this, I would have cut the whole slot at the same time as I made this long cut on here. That would have made it a little safer. So if you have any questions or other ideas regarding this, please share them in the comments below. This technique is loosely based on something done on the lathe, and I put a link to a video about that in the description below. When I saw this video I thought about doing it myself, but my lathe is a little small for this kind of turning, so I thought doing it in a linear fashion on the table saw. I hope you can get inspired by either this or the one on the lathe. On a side note, the video that I link is in German, but it is from a kid's program and it'll probably work without the commentary. And I hope to see some of your designs put into effect. Snap a picture, send me an email, I love those, and I hope you can decorate your home with it. And on that note, Merry Christmas to you and your family, just in case we don't see each other again until next year. And in case you don't celebrate Christmas, you can never have enough trees. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button if you did, and leave a comment down below just to let me know what you thought about this. Thanks for watching, and as always, remember to be inspired. Pretty much prone to getting this. Although with this one you're pretty much prone to getting things that, but with this thickness you're pretty much